Do you feel like your garden is just too shady to grow much of anything? Maybe you've looked at those dim corners and thought, there's no way vegetables will grow here. Or maybe you've even given up on the idea of fresh, homegrown food because your yard doesn't get full sun. Well, don't worry, you're not alone. And here's the good news, shade isn't a problem. It's actually an opportunity. In this video, I'm going to show you 12 perfect vegetables that don't just survive, they actually thrive in shade. And wait until you see number 7. I guarantee it will completely surprise you. Stick with me to the end because I'll also share a special bonus tip that most gardeners overlook, and it could totally change the way you think about shade gardening. I believe that every gardener deserves success, whether you've got a big sunny backyard, a balcony with pots, or just a little patch of ground that barely sees the sun. I've been experimenting with shade gardens for years, testing what really works and what doesn't. And I've discovered that with the right vegetables and a few simple tricks, you can grow delicious, healthy food even in places that get only a few hours of sunlight. So if you've ever felt discouraged by your garden's shade, stick around. I'm going to share what I've learned, and by the end of this video, you'll feel confident planting in spots you might have written off before. And hey, if you enjoy tips like these and you want more ways to make gardening easier, more fun, and more productive, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and click the bell. That way you'll never miss a video. We're building a growing community of gardeners just like you, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Let's kick things off with a true shade garden champion, spinach. Now, a lot of people think spinach needs loads of sunlight, but here's the secret. Spinach actually prefers cooler, dimmer spots. In fact, too much direct sun can make it bolt. That means it shoots up flowers quickly and the leaves turn bitter. But when you grow it in partial shade, it stays lush, tender, and sweet for much longer. So how much shade can it handle? Spinach is perfectly happy with just 3 to 4 hours of indirect or dappled sunlight a day. If you've got a shady corner under a tree or even along the side of your house, that's more than enough to grow a great crop. For best results, sow the seeds directly into rich, well-drained soil and keep the ground consistently moist. Spinach grows fast, so you can harvest baby leaves in as little as 3 weeks. Just snip the outer leaves and let the center keep producing. It's like a cut-and-come-again salad factory right in your garden. And here's a fun fact. The darker a spinach leaf, the more packed it is with nutrients like iron and vitamin K. So that shady spot in your yard, it could actually be producing some of the most nutrient-dense greens you'll ever eat. Next up is lettuce, and if you've struggled with it in full sun, shade might be the answer you've been looking for. Lettuce loves cool conditions. When it's grown in too much heat and light, it tends to get bitter and bolts almost overnight. But in partial shade, lettuce thrives. The leaves stay tender, crisp, and full of flavor, just the way we love them in salads. Lettuce is very forgiving in terms of light. Most varieties will grow beautifully with as little as 3 to 5 hours of indirect sunlight per day. Loose-leaf varieties, like butterhead and oak leaf, do especially well in shaded spots because they don't need as much energy to form big, dense heads. To get started, scatter seeds in well-prepared soil and water lightly but often, since lettuce has shallow roots. The great thing about lettuce is you don't have to wait for the whole head to mature. Just snip a few leaves at a time and they'll keep growing back. It's like having a living salad bowl in your garden. And here's a unique tip. Mix different varieties together, green leaf, red leaf, even speckled types. Not only will your shade garden look colorful and vibrant, but the variety of flavors will make your salads taste incredible. Shade gardening can be just as beautiful as it is productive. All right, now let's talk about one of the toughest, most resilient greens you can grow, kale. Kale is practically a superhero in the vegetable world. Not only is it packed with nutrients, but it's also one of the most shade-tolerant crops you can plant. Where other veggies sulk in low light, kale just keeps chugging along. In fact, kale can grow happily with only 3 hours of sunlight a day, and it often tastes even better when it's not blasted by full sun all the time. Here's why. When kale grows in shade, the cooler temperatures slow down the production of bitter compounds, so the leaves come out milder, sweeter, and more tender. That's why shade-grown kale often wins in taste tests compared to sun-grown. When it comes to planting, give your kale nutrient-rich soil and steady moisture. It doesn't need pampering. This plant is hardy. You can grow it directly in garden beds, raised beds, or even containers tucked into those shaded corners of your yard. The leaves are ready for harvest in about 6 to 8 weeks, but the beauty is you don't have to pull up the whole plant. Just keep harvesting the lower leaves, and your kale will continue producing for months. And here's a cool twist. Kale is one of those rare vegetables that actually improves in flavor after a frost. So if your shady garden gets chilly, don't worry. Your kale will reward you with leaves that are sweeter than candy. That's a treat you'll never get from store-bought kale. Now, if you want a vegetable that not only fills your plate, but also brightens up your garden, Swiss chard is a must-have. Swiss chard is like the artist of the shade garden. Its stems come in bold reds, yellows, pinks, and oranges, sometimes all on the same plant. So while it's busy giving you a constant supply of nutritious leaves, it's also decorating your garden like a living bouquet. And the best part? It thrives in partial shade. Chard can grow with about 4 to 5 hours of indirect sun a day. The shade actually helps the leaves stay more tender and prevents them from wilting in the heat. So you get both beauty and productivity, even in spots other vegetables might struggle. Plant Swiss chard seeds directly into your soil or raised beds and make sure the ground is well drained. Within about 50 days, you'll have full-sized leaves, but don't wait that long. You can start harvesting baby leaves much sooner. Like kale, you can cut the outer leaves and let the plant keep producing from the center. A few plants can keep you harvesting for the entire season.
Here's a fun fact. Those colorful stems aren't just pretty, they're edible too. Chop them up and sauté them with garlic and olive oil, and they add both flavor and a pop of color to your plate. Swiss chard is proof that your shade garden doesn't have to be boring or green only. It can be as vibrant as a flower bed while still giving you food. Next up is a vegetable with a bit of personality, arugula. Arugula, sometimes called rocket, has this bold, peppery flavor that can transform an ordinary salad into something exciting. But here's the secret most people don't know. When arugula gets too much sun, that peppery kick can turn into a sharp bitterness that not everyone enjoys. In shade, though, it's like arugula mellows out, still flavorful, but with a smoother, more balanced taste. So how much shade can it handle? Arugula does great in partial shade, even as little as 3 to 4 hours of light a day. Dappled sunlight filtering through trees is practically perfect for it. And because it's a cool season crop, it actually thrives in those slightly dim, cooler conditions. Plant arugula directly from seed, and don't worry, it germinates quickly. Within a few weeks, you'll have tender baby greens ready to harvest. Just snip them with scissors, and the plant will keep producing new leaves. This makes arugula one of the fastest, most rewarding crops you can grow in a shady garden. Here's a tip. If you want a steady supply, stagger your plantings every couple of weeks. That way, as one patch is maturing, the next patch is just getting started, and you'll never run out of fresh arugula. And here's a fun twist. Arugula isn't just for salads. Toss it onto hot pizza fresh from the oven or blend it into a peppery pesto. Growing arugula in shade not only makes it taste better, it opens up all kinds of culinary possibilities in your kitchen. Now let's switch gears and talk about something that might surprise you. Peas. Most people imagine peas climbing happily in sunny spring gardens, but the truth is, peas are one of the few vining vegetables that actually do very well in partial shade. In fact, they often prefer it. Why? Because peas love cooler conditions, and a bit of shade protects them from the stress of too much heat and direct sunlight. That means they'll keep flowering and producing pods longer into the season. Peas can manage just fine with about 4 to 5 hours of sun a day. A north-facing fence line, a spot beside a shed, or a bed that gets dappled afternoon shade are all excellent places to grow them. Just make sure they have something to climb, a simple trellis, some string, or even sticks stuck into the ground. When planting peas, sow the seeds directly into the soil as early as you can in the season since they love cool soil. Keep them watered, but don't let the soil get soggy. As the vines grow, you'll start to see delicate white or pink flowers, and soon after, those crisp green pods will follow. Here's the best part. Peas are the ultimate 2-in-1 crop. You get to harvest the pods for fresh eating, but the tender shoots and leaves are edible too. They're delicious sautéed or tossed into salads. So your shady garden isn't just giving you vegetables, it's giving you gourmet ingredients.
And here's a little bonus. Peas are natural soil improvers. They fix nitrogen into the ground, which means after your pea plants are done, the soil is richer and ready for whatever you plant next. Growing peas in your shade garden isn't just about today's harvest, it's also about investing in the health of your garden for the future. All right, let's pause for just a moment. Quick question for you. Out of the vegetables we've covered so far, which one are you most excited to try in your shady garden? Is it kale? Lettuce? Maybe that colorful Swiss chard? Go ahead and drop your answer in the comments below. I'd love to see what's on your gardening list. And honestly, your ideas often inspire other gardeners too. And if you've picked up even one useful tip so far, tap that like button so YouTube shares this with more gardeners. Plus, it's a quick way you can support this channel while I keep bringing you free gardening tips every week. All right, let's talk about a root crop that a lot of gardeners don't realize can thrive in partial shade: beets. Now, most people grow beets for those ruby red roots, but here's the cool thing. Beets are actually a double harvest vegetable. You get the sweet, earthy roots beneath the soil, and at the same time, the leafy greens up top are completely edible, packed with vitamins, and delicious sautéed with garlic or tossed into salads. And both the roots and the greens are surprisingly shade tolerant. Beets can handle about 4 to 5 hours of indirect sunlight a day. Sure, the roots might grow a little slower than in full sun, but the trade-off is worth it. In shaded gardens, beets develop tender, sweeter roots because they're not stressed by hot, direct light. The leaves also stay lush and vibrant for longer. Here's how to grow them. Sow seeds directly into loose, well-drained soil. Beets need room for their roots to swell, so thin seedlings early to about 3 inches apart. It feels wasteful, but trust me, it's the secret to plump, uniform beets. Keep the soil evenly moist, and within 50 to 70 days, you'll have beautiful round beets ready to pull. And here's a fun fact. Beets don't just come in red. There are golden varieties that won't stain your cutting board, and even candy-striped ones with red and white rings inside that look like nature's artwork. So if you want your shady garden to be both productive and Instagram-worthy, beets are a perfect choice. Shade doesn't just make them grow, it makes them shine. Now, here's one that surprises a lot of gardeners: carrots. We tend to think of carrots as sunshine-loving vegetables, but the truth is, carrots don't actually need blazing sun to develop beautiful roots. In fact, a little shade can make carrots taste even better. When carrots grow too fast in hot, bright conditions, they can turn woody or develop a bitter edge. But in partial shade, they grow more slowly, and that slower pace produces roots that are tender, crisp, and naturally sweeter.
Carrots do just fine with 4 to 6 hours of filtered light per day. They're especially well-suited to spots that get morning sun and afternoon shade, or areas tucked between taller plants that provide dappled cover. Here's the key to success. Carrots need loose, stone-free soil so their roots can grow long and straight. Sow the seeds thinly, keep the soil consistently moist, and be patient. Carrots take time. You'll start to see those feathery green tops, but resist the urge to pull them too soon. Trust me, the payoff is worth the wait. A fun tip: plant a mix of carrot varieties: orange classics, purple, yellow, even white. Each has a slightly different flavor, and together they'll make your harvest basket look like a rainbow. Kids especially love pulling up colorful carrots they didn't expect. And here's one more twist: carrot greens are edible too. They've got a parsley-like flavor that makes a fantastic addition to pestos and soups. So, in your shady garden, carrots give you more than just roots. They give you leaves, color, sweetness, and a little bit of garden magic hidden underground. Now, if there's one vegetable that proves shade gardens can be fast, fun, and rewarding, it's the humble radish. Radishes are the sprinters of the gardening world. You tuck those tiny seeds into the soil, and within just 3 weeks, you're already pulling out crisp, peppery roots. And here's the beautiful part. They don't need much sunlight to perform. In fact, partial shade helps radishes stay tender and prevents them from turning pithy or overly spicy. Radishes can be grown with as little as 3 to 4 hours of light per day. That means those awkward corners of your garden, the strip along your fence, or even spots shaded by larger plants can become little radish factories. To grow them well, scatter seeds directly into loose, fertile soil about a ½ inch deep. Keep the soil moist, and you'll see those green tops push through in just a few days. But here's the trick most gardeners miss. Don't overcrowd them. Thin the seedlings early, and you'll get round, uniform radishes instead of skinny, tangled roots. And here's a twist that might surprise you. Radish greens are edible too. They've got a slightly spicy kick, and they're amazing in soups, stir-fries, or blended into a zesty pesto. So, with radishes, you're not just harvesting roots, you're getting a 2-for-1 crop in record time. If you've ever doubted whether a shady patch of ground could really feed you, plant radishes there. In just a few weeks, you'll be crunching into proof that shade gardening works. Now let's move on to something a little less common but incredibly rewarding: broccoli rabe, also called rapini. Picture this: tall, leafy greens with small, tender, broccoli-like buds tucked among them. It looks like a cross between broccoli and kale, but it's actually its own unique plant with a bold, slightly nutty flavor. And here's why it deserves a place in your shady garden. It thrives in cooler, lower light conditions. In fact, give it too much heat and sun and it bolts before you can enjoy the harvest. Shade, on the other hand, keeps it productive and delicious. Broccoli rabe is happy with 4 to 5 hours of light a day, perfect for partial shade beds. Plant it from seed directly into your soil, and within 40 to 50 days, you'll be harvesting both tender leaves and those little clusters that look like baby broccoli florets. Here's how to use it. Harvest the leaves and buds while they're young and tender. Sauté them with olive oil, garlic, and a squeeze of lemon, and you've got an authentic Italian side dish bursting with flavor. It's one of those crops that makes you feel like your garden is growing gourmet ingredients. And here's a fascinating fact. Broccoli rabe is actually related to turnips, not broccoli. That's why it has such a unique flavor profile. By growing it in your shady garden, you're not just filling space, you're bringing diversity, nutrition, and a touch of the unexpected to your harvest. If you've only ever grown the usual leafy greens, try broccoli rabe in your shady garden. It'll surprise you, delight your taste buds, and make your garden feel a little more adventurous. Next on our list is one of the true treasures of Asian cuisine, bok choy. Bok choy, sometimes called Chinese cabbage, has these elegant white stems and crisp green leaves that make it look like something straight out of a chef's garden. But what makes bok choy perfect for shady gardens is its natural preference for cooler, low-light conditions. In full sun, bok choy often bolts, sending up flowers way too quickly, which leaves you with tough stems and bitter leaves. But give it partial shade, about 4 hours of light a day, and it slows down, producing tender, juicy leaves and crunchy stems that are just begging to be tossed into a stir-fry. Here's how to grow it. Sow seeds directly into moist, fertile soil and space the plants about 6 inches apart. Bok choy grows quickly. Many varieties are ready to harvest in as little as 30 to 40 days. And you don't always have to pull up the whole plant. Cut the outer leaves as you need them, and the center will keep producing, giving you a continuous harvest. A tip from seasoned gardeners: plant bok choy in successions, every couple of weeks. That way you'll always have fresh, tender plants coming up instead of one big crop all at once. And here's the fun twist. Bok choy isn't just a vegetable, it's a kitchen multitasker. Use the small, tender leaves raw in salads, toss the larger leaves into soups, or stir-fry the stems for that perfect crunchy bite. Growing bok choy in shade doesn't just give you food, it gives you versatility in your cooking and beauty in your garden beds. And finally, let's end with 2 culinary powerhouses that thrive in the shade: cilantro and parsley. Let's start with cilantro.
This herb is notorious for bolting. One hot, sunny week, and it shoots up flowers, leaving you with nothing but bitter stems. But in the shade, cilantro slows down. It keeps producing those fragrant, feathery leaves for weeks longer, letting you enjoy that fresh, citrusy flavor in salsas, salads, and curries. Cilantro is perfectly happy with as little as 3 hours of indirect sunlight.
Parsley, on the other hand, is the steady workhorse of the herb garden. Whether you're growing flat-leaf Italian parsley or curly parsley, it thrives in shady spots where other herbs might struggle. In fact, parsley loves the cooler conditions because it keeps the leaves tender and full of flavor. Give it 3 to 4 hours of light a day, and it will reward you with months of harvest. Here's how to grow both. Plant them in rich, well-drained soil and keep them watered consistently. Harvest leaves by cutting the outer stems close to the base, and the plants will keep pushing out fresh new growth. And here's the bonus twist. Both cilantro and parsley can be grown in pots on shaded patios or balconies. They're perfect for gardeners with limited space or tricky light conditions. Imagine stepping outside your back door and snipping a handful of herbs for tonight's dinner, all from plants that thrive where others fail. Cilantro and parsley prove that shade gardens aren't just about survival. They're about flavor, fragrance, and everyday freshness right at your fingertips. Now, before we finish up, let's talk about how to really make the most of your shady garden space. Because choosing the right vegetables is just the beginning. With a few extra tricks, you can turn shade into an advantage. First, enrich your soil. Vegetables growing in lower light conditions can't photosynthesize as aggressively as those in full sun. That means they rely more heavily on nutrient-rich soil to give them a boost. Adding compost or well-rotted manure makes a huge difference. Think of it as feeding the soil so the soil can feed your plants. Second, adjust your watering. Shady gardens don't dry out as quickly as sunny ones, which is a blessing, but it also means you can accidentally overwater. Check the soil with your finger before grabbing the hose. If the top inch feels damp, you can wait another day. Healthy roots love that balance between moisture and air. Third, make use of reflective surfaces. This is a fun little hack. Placing light-colored mulch, white stones, or even a strategically placed garden mirror nearby can bounce extra light into your beds. It's like giving your plants a free solar panel upgrade. And finally, think mobile. Containers are your best friends in shady gardens. A few pots of lettuce or herbs can easily be shifted around to catch a little more morning light, then tucked back into shade for protection during the afternoon. Flexibility is one of the biggest advantages of container gardening. With just these small adjustments, you can transform your shady garden from a limitation into a thriving, productive, and beautiful space. And now, the moment I promised at the very beginning, here's your bonus tip. When people think about gardening, they usually picture sunlight pouring down on rows of vegetables. But not everything needs sun to grow. Some crops actually prefer the shade, and one of the best examples is mushrooms. That's right, mushrooms aren't vegetables, but they're one of the most shade-loving foods you can grow. In fact, they thrive in damp, dark conditions where other crops would fail. You can grow oyster mushrooms or shiitakes in logs, boxes, or even simple indoor kits. They don't just tolerate shade, they demand it. And in return, they reward you with harvests that feel almost magical. Or, if mushrooms aren't your thing, try microgreens. They're tiny, nutrient-packed plants harvested just days after sprouting, and they need very little light. A tray on a shaded windowsill can give you fresh greens year-round.